Hi everyone, welcome back to Plum Mashable. So for today's video, I'm going to be making a card using the Uniquely Creative Butterflies stamp and die set. So let's go ahead and get to it. Alright, so I really wanted to show off this absolutely gorgeous Uniquely Creative stamp set. This is the Butterflies set. I think it was their December stamp and color set, like in that you can do in the subscription. I'm not subscribed, but I just saw this and I was like, yeah, I have to have it. Thankfully they still had some left. They do sell out really quickly and I'm pretty sure they're not available right now, but they might come back, so don't panic too much if you do want to get it. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 butterflies here, a flower, and then you've got the sentiment that says you are so, and you can either have beautiful, adorable, or incredible. There are matching dies that do all of the images plus the words. I think it was $45 for the stamp and die set, which is pretty good. So we're gonna do a card using these ones. I don't know how many of the butterflies I'm gonna need. I think I'm going to need 3, but it might only be 2. But I'm gonna stamp out and color 3 of them, and we'll just see how we go. So I'm just grabbing some Express It blending card and just putting this into my Misti. I'm using my Misti because I'm a little nervous. These are the first time I've used these stamps, so I'm just a little nervous they're not going to stamp right. So for that reason, I will use the Misti, so if it doesn't stamp right, I can just fix it up. So I've got the 3 that I want, and then go ahead and stamp this out with Memento Tuxedo Black ink. So I did double stamp those, and I think they look much better when they've been double stamped. So the colour palette I'm going to play with today is colours that I don't use together very often. I'm going to use a pink, an orange and a yellow, and for that reason I've already picked out some Copics that kind of match these. I'm going to be doing a bit of a watercolour background using the oxide, so I just want to make the colouring reasonably simple. I'm a little nervous because this would be really easy to go way over the top with. And especially with this butterfly, I'm a little worried about going too over the top. So I'm going to try and keep this as simple as I can, and just keep the dark colour sort of in close, and then sort of move out to so have the pink in close, then the orange, and then the yellow right at the edges. Obviously you could do this lots of different ways and really mix it up, but we'll keep it reasonably simple because the background's going to be pretty complicated. So I've got the dark pink, that's RV14, sorry. This is RV13. So blend that out to the edges, and I might use the orange for the dots or bits sort of on top, and then the yellow at the edge, and just sort of blend it all together. Other bits that are left here, I'm going to put the orange. So I've got YR16 and YR04. Just see how that looks. might try and use a bit more just of the single shades. So a little bit just of the 16 in these sort of very small little bits, and then put the shading in the slightly bigger areas. And again, just kind of sticking to that. Oops, that's supposed to be the darker one. Sticking to the thing that the darker ones are kind of, the dark bits are in the, towards the middle a bit more. Alright, I don't mind that. I think it's come out okay. I am kind of debating if I just need a little bit of something, just a little bit darker with the orange. I don't know why. Something just doesn't look quite bright to me. So I'm just adding in, this is just a little bit of YR07. Just adding just a little bit, just in the edges, and I'm just going to blend that out with the, straight into the 04. Won't need much to get it to go to that next level. I did miss the line there a little bit, but it's okay. Butterflies aren't perfect. Sometimes you just need just a little bit more shade. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and colour the other two in just using the same colours. I don't want to change the colours I'm using at all. I just might change up the way I colour them, because obviously this one might have a bit more yellow, this one might have a bit more orange. So I'm going to go ahead and do that super fast. You still get to watch, and I'll put the caps in so you can sort of see which colours I'm using, but I'll do it super fast and I'll be right back. So I brought in Y06 just for the little butterfly. I felt like it needed a little bit more of a pop, so I thought I would do that. So then I'm going to grab the dies. I'm going to cut this out just using my sidekick. Then we can start working on the actual card. So there are my 3 butterflies. I think they're different enough without being too different. I think they work. Definitely, I think I like this one best. I don't know why, probably because it's got least amount of pink. Anyway, so for the background, I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to have the actual card base itself. We're going to do a little bit of stamping on, but before we get to that, we're going to do a bit of watercolouring using some oxides. So I'm just grabbing out my masking tape. I'm also just grabbing a pencil. I just need to mark sort of roughly how big my watercolour panel needs to be lengthwise, and then we can go ahead and stick it down so it doesn't wander around while I'm watercolouring it. We can trim this panel down so it doesn't have to be perfect, but just have enough sort of either side. so that you've got some room to stick this down. Alright, so I just got Ryan to get me a little cup of water because I forgot I needed this to be a bit wet. So I'm just making the whole panel wet, just using just a normal paintbrush and normal water. Just need this to be a little bit wet so that the ink moves around a bit. And then I'm going to smush, just try and decide the order I want to go in. Actually, I'm going to mix them up a bit. So I've got picked raspberry, carved pumpkin, and mustard seed. I think that'll give me the colours I kind of want. And I want these to be not messy, but I want them to be a little bit sort of all over the place. So I'm not being too particular about where they go, just having some fun, sort of bring them down and around, add in more water if I feel like it needs to. I'm not going to worry about cleaning the brush off in between colours either, because it's just more fun to smush them all in together. And I need to go right to the edge, and that's what I always forget when I'm doing this, is I need to pull this up right to the edge. Whenever I play with watercolours, whether it's the inks or the paints or using watercolour pens, whatever it is, once I'm happy with it, I like to go in and hit it with the heat tool, because that way it's going to look just like this. It's going to stay as I've got it, and then we can come back in and add another layer if we want to. It's not 100% dry, but it's pretty close. I'm just going to take that tape off. Now this was just normal cardstock. There was no fancy watercolour paper or anything in here. I didn't realise the back was still wet, so I'm just going to dry that off really quick. Alright, so I'm going to put that off to the side just in case it is just a little bit damp, and I'm just made sure that everything's nice and clean here, because we're going to go ahead and stamp on the background. So I want there just to be a bit of subtle decoration on the background. So I'm just grabbing my masking tape again, and I'm going to mask down, put down my card, which I want to fold this way. It's going to be a horizontal card. Just masking off the back. So I'm going to stamp all over the front. So I'm getting pumice stone, which is a really, really pale grey. I don't actually think I've used the pale grey organic before. I don't know. And then I'm getting the flower that comes in this set. And then I'm just going to do a little bit of background stamping. And I don't need there to be too many flowers on here. But I just want there to be a few. I don't want them to overlap. I want them to be pretty spread out. But it'll look very, very pretty in a minute. Now that my panel is dry, I can work out how thick or how wide I need this to be. I am happy with the way that all came together. I could have put another sort of wash just to sort of blend in these oranges and yellows together, but I think it'll actually be okay. So the biggest of the butterflies, they're all sort of about that tall. So I reckon if I make this about 3.5, no, it needs to be bigger than that, make it 4. So I'm going to cut this to a 4 centimetre strip. Just grabbing my trimmer. a little bit flatter. It's not bad, but it's just a little bit, I'm just going to run this through the die cut machine. It's not to cut it, obviously, it's just to flatten it out. And this does a surprisingly good job. You don't have to do this with the Sidekick. You could do it with a normal die cut machine, a big one. Probably be easier, but just because I haven't got it handy, we'll just use the little one. That just makes it just a little bit flatter. Alright, so I'm giving this a little bit to dry. I did miss a little bit, but that's alright. No! I hate that. Sometimes my masking tape just picks up a little bit of the backing paper, which kind of bugs me, but I'll survive. Alright, so then I'm going to have the panel sit across there. I'm going to add a little bit of black to this, because I just feel like it's just missing a little bit. So I'm going to put the paper, the watercolor paper, down on a black mat, really skinny one. So I'm just going to stick it down using glue tape. This will help the warping as well, because there is just a little bit still. So a fair bit of glue tape on here to help with that. I'll just line this up. I'm going to make it on the top as thin as I want it. Actually, hold on. No, it's alright, it's already half down, so I'm just going to deal with it and we'll do it afterwards. So I want to add a little bit of splatter on here. I wasn't going to, but I think I need to. Just trim this to the right size, and then we'll go ahead with the splatter. So the edge obviously doesn't need to be with any kind of border to it, but just make the bottom edge have a sort of, just a little bit of a border. That's actually not bad. You can use any kind of watercolor paint or any kind of paint you want here for the black. I'm just going to use this little came up tube just because it's handy and I don't really want to get my whole palette out. Before I do that, I'm just going to give this a really quick spritz just with some water, and that'll react with the ink. Black speckles. I like doing white speckles. I think white speckles are great. But black on a coloured background like this just brings in a little bit of definition, and I really like it. So just flicking that on. Big dot of water there that I don't like. I'm just trying to make these speckles as small as I can, but as dark as I can. And I'm going to hit this straight with the heat tool so I don't lose too much of the colour, because watercolour can sometimes fade a little bit into the background. Different consistencies of the, like what had lots of water and what had just a little bit of water. Some of these are darker than the others, but I like it. It gives it a lot of dimension. Alright, just pick up that black with the tissue and get rid of that. So it's time to assemble the card. So I'm just making sure there's no mess on my mat now, because I don't want to ruin the card. I'm going to have that sitting across that like that. I'm going to pull in some double-sided tape here because I need this to be really as strong a connection as I can make it, and this is I feel like double-sided tape gives me the best stick out of everything, so I need to sort of flatten it out a little bit. You could run it through the die cut machine again at this point, but I think I'm okay. So the biggest thing here is making sure that this is straight. It's the only thing I care about, is just getting it straight. So I'm using my mat to help me here. Even going to grab in my fancy smancy ruler thing. Just want to make sure this sits straight. Also want to make sure it sits in the right spot, which I've already messed up. Don't know if that's 100% right, but it looks not bad, so we'll go with it. And then I'm just going to go ahead and cut off actually, before we do that, let's work out where we're going to put the butterflies. So using the black for the little sort of strip there just helps pull in the black from the butterflies, because we have used that for the ink. Could very easily use that light grey and that would have looked fine as well. I think we'll put the butterflies up on a bit of foam tape just so that they stand up. Actually, I'm going to use Jennifer Maguire's tip here. I'm just going to cut out a bunch of these and stick them together. So I'm just going to grab a bunch of excess white cardstock, which I have plenty, run these all through my die cut machine, and I'll stack them up and I'll be right back. Alright, whoa, nearly did that. That would have been great. So I'm going to stick the little butterfly in the middle, and then we'll have the big ones on either side. I'm just going to stick them down with glue, like with just normal glue. We don't need to worry too much about anything fancy here. And then we're going to finish this off with just a little bit, or a couple of little sequins. Now sequins are something that I see lots and lots and lots of card makers use, and for whatever reason I've just never got into them. That doesn't mean anything, I've never sort of got to it, but I want to give it a try on this one. I think it will look nice, just to add a little bit of bling. Just a little bit of bling. I'm just debating if I want to put just a little bit of white gel pen highlight on this, because I haven't. I'm not sure if it's missing it or not, so I'm just going to put just a little, just on the edges. Alright, so for the sequins, I've grabbed out this set. This is a Hello Universe sequin kit from Planners Anonymous that's old, but I don't have any other black sequins, so this will work. So these are almost matte, which I don't know if that's going to work or not. Oh no, there's a couple of glittery ones in here. I don't want to use too many. I'm just going to have them scattered around the place, just to sort of bring in the black to the background as well. I need to use another set of tweezers because those ones are all sticky. Before I stick them down, I just need to find somewhere for the sentiment. It's the only thing that's missing. So I'm going to use the You Are So, I think I'm going to use Incredible. Actually, I might take a couple of them off just so that if they're not in the way. So I'm going to go straight over the top because we're using black ink for this part. I'm going to use the Misti because I don't want to mess this up. And again, using the Misti so that I've just got a bit of a chance to, if I mess this up, I've got a chance to fix it. So we'll put the Incredible there and the You Are So. I'm just trying to make that as straight as I can. If it doesn't look straight, I can adjust it before I stamp it, but actually I did a pretty good job there. So instead of using my Memento ink for this one, I'm going to use my VersaFine ink for this one. It's just because it's a little bit darker. It's going to give me a much darker finish, which is not what I want, it is what I want. I always get ink on my fingers when I use it though. Just going to stamp that down. Always get so nervous when I stamp onto my background. Go. Alright, and then we're going to chuck a couple of those sequins around, and then we're going to be finished. I'm just going to use liquid glue for it. I just want to put an odd number, so I'm just going to put the glue. So I'm going to put 2 at the top, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'll just sort of randomly put these down. I think I'm going to leave it like that. I really love the dimension on those butterflies. It's not something I've sort of meant to do or not meant to do before, but kind of like the way they're stacked. I do need to practice my stacking though, because it's not particularly know, straight, but it's all right. Just going to reinforce that fold. I like the colours. It's so not a colours palette that I'd normally play with, but I really like it. I think the pink and the orange and the yellow, especially because it comes up from behind. And I also really like the flowers on there. The flowers are just an add. You don't have to do them. It would look really nice as a white one. But I think that looks really cool. And the black accents, I think, just add something really nice as well. But let me know what you think. You can leave it down below, or of course you can find me on any of my socials. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for lots more card making videos. I'm going to try and do not a lot more this year, but a little bit more this year. So let me know what you'd like to see. Hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic weekend, whatever you get up to, and I will catch you in my next video. Sending lots of huggles. Bye!